reproductive health and I take hormonal birth control. Honestly crazy to me that that's something controversial to say these days, but it is. The other day I had a TikTok video go kind of like semi-viral in which I was briefly talking about how the slander that has been happening on the internet about hormonal birth control is a threat to reproductive freedom. And we need to be so careful about how we approach this topic. Birth control can be life-saving, life-changing for so many people. My comments were flooded with people, especially people with PMDD, talking about how their kind of thoughts of terminating their own life can be really strong when they're not on birth control, and that is the treatment for them. In that sense, birth control is actually keeping them alive. And then there was other people talking about how kind of from their endometriosis, the bleeding and the pain that was associated with it would cause them to be severely ill if they were not on hormonal birth control. And so those are just a couple examples about how important access to and informed consent about hormonal birth control is so important. I think on top of that, just the fact that like pregnancy itself can be dangerous. Unfortunately, the rates of maternal mortality in the United States are high. And for somebody who does not want to be pregnant, access to their ability to get an abortion, if that's something they need medically, or that's just something that they want, that's limited. And research shows that just because abortions are not legal does not mean that they are not going to happen, which means they will happen unsafely. So all that is to say, access to birth control, whether it's hormonal or non-hormonal or whatever, is super important for reproductive freedom, especially because we don't freaking have an option for people that are male. It's all of the responsibility essentially falls on females, unless we suddenly get way more men that are willing to wear condoms, but you know, whatever. Well, anyways, I digress. My reason for deciding to make a video today was that I wanted to talk about my experience with birth control. I think it's so important that we talk about our experiences and help each other understand kind of like the ins and outs of what may or may not happen with hormonal birth control. It is so individualized. Every single person is going to be making a different decision when it comes to birth control, whether that has to do kind of with just like their belief system or their medical necessity. There is so much that birth control can do. There's also so much that birth control can cause to go wrong for some people as well. And I feel like a lot of providers, so doctors, midwives, nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, a lot of them are really good at fully explaining all the risks and benefits of all different types of birth control. Some are not, unfortunately. So that's definitely something that needs to change systematically. We need more research on the side effects of birth control. We need more options that have less side effects. So anyways, I wanted to talk about what my experience has been in hopes that it kind of helps it seem less scary to somebody who feels like this might be a really important option for them for family planning or for kind of managing a health condition. So when I was in college, I decided to get on the pill to start birth control for family planning reasons. And I was started on the regular combined pill. I don't remember which one it was exactly, but it was combined estrogen progesterone pill. And it is pretty standard that they should be checking your blood pressure after you start that pill. And mine was a little bit high. I have a little bit of white coat syndrome. I also definitely have anxiety just across the board. So totally could have been that, but my blood pressure was high. So they decided to take me off of that and then put me on the progesterone only pill. At that time in my life, I think I was like maybe 19 and life was a little crazy. I did not feel like comfortable with the idea that like I had to take that pill specifically in a 2-hour window for it to be effective. That was just too scary for me. I didn't want to try that. Now at this point in my life, I could probably totally handle that. But 19-year-old Mackenzie, that was not the right choice. So the nurse practitioner that I was seeing on campus recommended Nexplanon and was like, this is great. So I got the Nexplanon placed, and the Nexplanon is a little rod that it essentially has hormones in it, and that kind of releases over a period of a couple years, and then they place it in your arm. So it's placed under the arm. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was this one. I still have a tiny scar there, like right next to the blood vessel, and it releases the hormones. For some people that works great. Unfortunately for me, I was not fully informed about the potential side effect of unpredictable bleeding. Literally the words unpredictable bleeding are listed on the giant list of medication or side effects on the like medication insert. And so I would bleed randomly, could not predict it at all. And there was one month where I bled for a month straight, and I was like, that's it. Like, this thing is coming out. I literally cannot deal with this anymore. And I was kind of upset that my provider hadn't told me about that, because the next provider and even the next two that talked to me about additional options were like, yeah, we take out a lot of these for this specific reason. You kind of should have been told that. So that was unfortunate. But on to the next. I decided that I still was not comfortable with only taking the progesterone, or having to take that progesterone only pill just in that 2-hour window. So I decided to try an IUD next, and my options were Mirena, Kyleena, or the copper IUD, so Paragard. There might be other options too. And I have PMDD, and so my periods are already really heavy and painful. So the copper IUD, that is one of the side effects, is that it can make your periods heavier and more painful, because it is creating some inflammation in the uterus, and that's what makes it hostile to sperm. So that's how it works. It does not have any hormones in it, so it does not inhibit ovulation or anything. It just makes it impossible, or almost impossible for sperm to survive. Therefore, it couldn't get into the fallopian tube and fertilize an egg. So anyways, that one wasn't going to work for me because of my pre-existing health, hormonal health conditions. And my provider suggested Kyleena because it's a little bit smaller and it's a lower dose of hormones. So she felt that that was a good option for me as somebody who had never had children before. I got it placed on campus at UNC Chapel Hill. And at that time, they were offering a cervical block to anybody who got an IUD on campus, because they felt that the majority of their patient population had not had any children, and that was the best option to offer cervical numbing. And so it was a painless procedure. It was pretty much great. It was uncomfortable, but the pain was like pretty much non-existent, and it was awesome. And I had it for 5 years. And then in February or March of this year, my time was up. I needed to get it replaced. I was talking with my provider about it. She had a different opinion about cervical blocks, and she wanted to try doing something different. I actually have a video about my experience. It was unfortunately not a good experience at all. I now highly recommend that everybody have the option of getting that cervical block. Unfortunately, for whatever reason here in Charlotte, I called around and there really wasn't anybody that was willing to do cervical numbing, which is literally just like a couple shots of lidocaine in your cervix. And I don't really understand what the reason for that is. Obviously I'm here, obviously I survived, but the kind of option that she had provided was Xanax and Cytotec, and it just was not enough, and it was unfortunately very painful. But I have it, it's in, and it's fine. And so far, the past a little over 5 years that I've had my Kyleena IUD, my uterine lining is definitely super thin now. That's one of the things that it does. And so my periods are really, really light. I maybe use like a panty liner. At first, for the first 6-ish months, I did have some really bad cramping. But I was like, well, this thing's in. I'm not getting it out right now. Like, I really want to see if this calms down. So luckily, after the very first 6 months of my first IUD, that did calm down, I think, as my body just kind of adjusted to it being there. And I have not had that experience after getting it replaced. One thing I like about it is that I do feel a little bit in tune with my body. It does not inhibit ovulation because the hormones aren't strong enough for that. I think for some people they do stop ovulating. It probably just depends on your body. But it's working really well for me. I think what would have been really great is if I did have an option that did help me with more of my PMDD symptoms, but luckily I've been able to treat that with nutrition and lifestyle, and some vitamin and herbal support as well, and I've been feeling really great. So there's always opportunity for both to be present, both to work. They're not mutually exclusive, and that's something I love to work on with my clients. No matter like where they're at with birth control, it's not something that you have to get off in order to work on treating your body's hormonal health with more natural, quote, interventions as well. So anyways, I hope that this story helps somebody kind of out there work through what's going on with their birth control and helps you make a good decision for you. It's super important that you have a provider that's willing to listen to you. But it's also really important that you don't get sucked into the fear mongering that's out there in the world. Remember that if somebody is making a fantastical claim on the internet, they're probably trying to sell you something in a way that's unethical. Fear is not an ethical sales tactic, and I feel super strongly about that. So anyways, that's my story with birth control. I hope it helps you. I hope you find it informative, and I hope you have a great day.